Hello and welcome back to Our Life, Beginnings and Always. I'm wondering if this is going to be the last one. We'll find out. We'll see how much we have left to do. We were going to go end the day here after the Father's Day celebration, spending some time with Derek. And tomorrow we're supposed to go to a business luncheon for his dad. But I'm wondering that since they gave us a choice between the water park or the luncheon, that it won't play out regardless of what you pick, because that would be a lot of work to write those scenes. That it might just end after this day. So we'll see what happens here. I don't remember how the step 4 goes with Cove and how that ends, but we'll see what happens here. As soon as you'd both climbed into the comfortable seats of Derek's car, he was ready for a new adventure.
What's the plan now? We've got what's left of the day to ourselves.
I'm not sure. You intended to really consider the question, but not a single thought had a chance to fully form through Derek's set of disconnected mental threads flying with a show.
Oh!
What's wrong? His head knocked against the back of the seat and he slid lower in defeat.
This sucks.
I didn't get the console from Nico. That's what we could have done. Obviously, we'd already set everything up. Almost everything.
Derek offered an apologetic grin. Hey, it's not as if I remembered.
That does make it less embarrassing for me. Thanks, Marina.
You're welcome. He scraped himself up and off the chair, choosing to lean over the steering wheel instead. Yeah, I totally forgot about their entire plan to play Switch, to play Mario Kart. Or whatever it was. I think we got Mario Kart. That's what we had decided on.
Alright.
Another day then. It'd be way too awkward to go back up there and beg Nicholas for his Switch. That's something we gotta play smooth.
I think he kind of knew what you wanted to do anyway and probably doesn't care. But that's just me. To be fair, their dad probably plays as much as Nicholas does, and they're probably playing it together right now for Father's Day.
But without it, there's not much to do at the apartment.
Words drifted off. His mind was working, and without another interruption, yours as well. The loudest sound in the cabin of the stow car was Derek drumming his fingers against the steering wheel. What did you want to do? That was the question. You had a starting point. It was worth considering not just what to do in general, but what you could do while you were there in that location. That location, of course. You couldn't be far from the big park your mom sometimes took you to, the same place Derek frequented with his brothers. Yeah, we gotta go to the park, too. That's one of the other major locations we spent time with Derek, right? I got it. Let's go to the park.
Leave it to me.
Totally. That'd be perfect. And I know exactly how to get there. Buckle in.
He didn't have to tell you twice. You snapped the seatbelt into place for a ride. Anticipation stirred in the air and the car switched to life. Have I said how much I enjoy the voice that they gave Derek in this stage? Then Derek pulled out into the street. The park was even closer than you'd guessed, because mere minutes after you'd come up with the plan, it had been executed. And luckily, there were a few free spots in the lot. Parking at the park was no trouble. Derek did a hop, skip, and a jump out the door, around the back, and bent inside the popped-open trunk. He rummaged around for a minute before slamming it shut. You joined him outside and spotted immediately what mini pit stop was for. He locked his car with the clicker. In one hand, but tucked under the other arm was a well-worn soccer ball. Everything was ready. Yeah, I hope they remember that Marina is also sporty and likes soccer. This makes perfect sense. You and Derek leisurely wandered down the path toward the heart of the park. So let's look at the park all these years later. It looks exactly the same, doesn't it? 10 years on, or 15 years on. Even those same plates are still on that table, man. Unless those are like pink, white spots on that like table that are just there. Well, there's some on the back though too. It's like, yeah, it looks like there's food on those ones. Maybe they changed the greenery a little bit here. I don't even remember. I think this is exactly the same as it always was. When you officially arrived at your destination, the sun was barely peeking over the horizon. It wasn't dark quite yet, but shadows were threatening to fully embrace the scene in a minute. So do they kick you out at parks in California at dusk? Because they do here, and I hate it. Scattered clumps of strangers enjoyed the summer evening all around the perfectly trimmed field of grass. Parents with their children, groups of teens, elderly pairs, people of all stages of life were there to share in similar yet entirely unique experiences. Derek stood by your side. You could hear him inhale deeply through his nose. He took in the sight contentedly. You glanced away from the wide expanse in front of you to face Derek. He smiled the moment your eyes met. The ball was shifting from one hand to the other.
Wanna kick this around?
What? What? I thought we were going to take turns sitting on it.
Maybe that would have happened if I were Nicholas, but you're at the park with Derek, and he actually uses balls for their intended purpose.
Just gonna let that... This is a line that I had to read. He actually uses balls for their intended purpose. I think I can live with that. Combined with this facial expression. Damn it, GB Patch.
Awesome.
The two of you claimed the far corner of the grass for your own purpose. No one was likely to interrupt you or be hit by a misfired ball there. Derek let the soccer ball fall to the ground with a slight bounce. He warmed up by juggling it side to side between his legs, popping it up on the top of one foot and letting it drop off again. Working the ball over that way was second nature to him. Derek might not have intentionally decided to do it. It was purely habit. So here's a question. If the character I was playing wasn't inherently sporty and into soccer, would we still do this? Or does it matter? Is this just scripted? Because this is interesting to me, because this is something Marina would also enjoy, but some characters might not. Because I'm basically just playing Girl Cove. But then he rolled the ball your way with the tap of his toes. You put more distance between him and you before kicking the ball across the field to return it to the center. He caught it effortlessly under his heel. The game was on. Back and forth, an easy rhythm developed between you and him. There were few people in the world you could sync with better than Derek. Hey, it's end of the moment music again. The day grew later and the park slowly empty of other people. Maybe this is end of the day music. Maybe this has always been end of the day music and I never realized. I always thought it was like end of the moment, but usually the end of the moment is the end of the day. In the quiet of twilight, the smacking sounds of soccer ball against feet echoed loudly. One catch of Derek's was especially impressive. He'd stop the ball without looking, his fond green eyes squarely on your face. But the longer you played, the more the light in his features dimmed. It had been in gradual decline. Now that you noticed it, however, it was impossible to ignore now. He weakly passed the ball over to you and was going to stop short. You had to jog closer to him to even get it. His complete loss of energy was concerning enough that you paused the exchange. For a moment, you only watched Derek stand there, shoulders slumped and expression defeated. Yeah, here comes a big talk with Derek about something. He felt grateful for the excuse to be nearer to him, given the slow kick, because he spoke distantly to himself. It would have been impossible to hear from the full length that used to be between you, and you still had to strain your ears not to miss his words.
I can't believe how long it's been. I'm here, with you, in my old park. So much is like it was before, but it's not the same. Why can't I feel the way I used to about it? He mentioned a similar sentiment at the mall, and when you visited Sunset Bird, too. Derek pushed it off each time before, and that thought continued to eat away at him despite how much he'd avoided confronting it. Derek, what happened? I know something bothered you. Why did you come back to the city? Why didn't you believe your dad when he said you were successful? You know you can talk to me about anything, right? You waited for him to say more. You know you can talk to me about anything, right? This is kind of... I don't know. She's probably a little more confrontational, right? Like, I think maybe more this. Derek, what happened? I know something bothered you. You pointedly sent the soccer ball over again, putting the ball literally and metaphorically in Derek's court. He pressed the ball under his heel and stared at you just as hard. Man, the facial expressions they do with Derek with just his eyebrows and eye shapes. Oh hey, it's nighttime now. Distant lamps flickered on around the park. The darkness in Derek's features was contrasted even more strongly when lit up from behind. It was much later than you realized it was.
It's...
You know my life story, most of it at least. I wanted to be good at sports, and I tried. In high school and college, I put my all into it. After that, there's not a lot of ways you can go further with it. You can coach or teach, or aim to go pro.
Oh! He didn't succeed at sports. Oh, you know, I never really thought about it, because he's not doing anything right now, right? So,
he's clearly not doing sports. I never really thought about it.
I had that chance. I could have tried out to make playing an actual career.
Really? That was incredible, and it left you entirely stunned. In all the calls you'd had, and during the entire time you'd been here with him, he'd never hinted at anything like that.
That's right.
He owned up the admission with deep furrowed brows and self-directed sneer. I like this lighting. I don't think I've ever been to this park at nighttime before. This is kind of new that they did this. They added the lighting and stuff. I feel like this is all new. That's pretty cool.
Maybe I would have made it in the minor leagues. Maybe even the majors. Maybe I would have face planted, but I didn't get far enough to find out because I quit.
He twisted away from you with a pained shout. Derek struck the soccer ball off toward nowhere with all his strength. If you shot into the distance, vanishing completely in the inky skyline. It shot into the distance, vanishing completely in the inky skyline before you ever saw it start to slow. Derek stared at where the old ball from his much younger days had gone, even though it was truly and thoroughly gone.
I gave up and left, and that's it.
Why? It's alright, Derek. Have you been okay while you were away? I missed that catch you attempted to lighten the mood. Well, not it for fetching the ball, he chuckled awkwardly. You could merely look all concerned. Have you been okay while you were away?
I don't know if I've ever been okay.
You got an answer, a hollow and distant reply that reminded you not at all of the Derek you knew. Remember how stressed out he was all the time as a kid, having to be the bigger brother and being the responsible one and stuff, and never getting to live his own life? Yeah, but he still feels that. That's gonna come out now. His empty hand squeezed into iron ball fists, solid and all too heavy to hold up.
I did love sports. I think I did. Sometimes I'm not sure. I can remember. What I do know is that I had something to prove. If I ever stopped, it felt like I'd be giving up. I'd be a quitter and a failure who couldn't cut it. And I could never arrive either. There was always another goal in the distance that I still hadn't reached, so I had to keep going.
Derek's eyes were hazy. His chest rose and fell at an unsteady pace. He still hadn't stopped looking out at the dark, expecting and getting nothing from it.
Downgrading my playing to nothing more than a hobby would have been the same as not playing at all. Wasted effort, wasted potential. What a shame. What a shame. That's what people would think.
Man. If there's not more to this episode, I'm calling it What a Shame. But we're probably going to be a lot more to it than that.
That's what I thought.
I know it's true. All I did was develop those skills. If I don't use them, what was the point of trying so hard?
For a second time, a long-hidden anger crackled. He'd faced you in his fury, but again, Derek let it settle back to somberness before continuing to address you.
But like I said, what does that mean? Where could that go other than doing it forever? How did it take me this long to realize something that obvious? I was going to have to do it forever. That would have been fine if I'd actually wanted to spend my whole life and all my time on perfecting my passing skills, but no, I'm not that smart. From the start, it was a means to an end. I'd be good at sports, then I'd feel worse something, and then I could really live my life. Missing time with friends and family, the crazy hours, I'd been waiting for when that would finally stop. It never did, and never would unless I stopped it.
Oh. He feels like he wasted his whole life. I wonder if people feel like this all the time who don't succeed in the sporting world. Like, people who are... I always think about these kids who are pressured to perform well in sports by their parents when they're kids. It's like, where does that lead if you don't get anything? So you feel you could let your parents down, and you feel like you let yourself down? At least Derek wasn't pressured by his parents, just himself, but still. That's why I never tried. Oh, jeez. Let's,
Missing time with friends and family, the crazy hours, I'd been waiting for when that would finally stop. It never did, and never would unless I stopped it. You can see the results of my hard work and great planning right in front of you. I went home as the guy who couldn't make it. I got my life back, and I don't feel the tiniest bit better. It might be worse than when I was more thick-headed. When I was more thick-headed and couldn't tell myself I was really doing something. Being here hasn't turned back the clock. I can't look forward to what life could be when I'm grown up. I'm just an adult who wasted so much of my life already because I had a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah, but at least you are an adult, and your life's still got a long way to go, Derek. You're only, what, 23 in this? Or even younger, maybe? We're 23. I don't remember if Derek was the same age or if he's like a year younger.
I'm so pissed off.
His face fell into his hands. That's where the story of Derek stopped. He resolved to reassure him somehow. He felt terribly he wasn't proud of what he'd done. He chafed against his over-the-top self-pitying. It was frustrating hearing him speak so badly of himself. It was frustrating hearing him speak so badly of himself. That's a good one. You had to clench your teeth to make yourself look at him even look at him like that. Derek, your standards are absurd. You're extremely successful and have zero reason to think otherwise. Get a grip, you're doing fine. See, I feel like this is a little bit like not what I would do, but this is what Marina would do. These are Marina. This is Marina. Derek, your standards are absurd. I think, right? This one feels like very, I don't know. You're extremely successful and have zero reason to think otherwise. Yeah, Derek, your standards are absurd. His face snapped up with an instant, bitter defensiveness.
What?
You don't know what you're talking about. I spent years and years pushing everything that actually mattered to the side for something I just threw away because I never really wanted it. How the hell is not being happy about that too high a standard? Derek glowered after his latest rant, but you glared right back. Marina's not gonna back down, okay? I say this as someone who cares. I want to scream. Derek let out a steadying breath. Is it steading or steady? It says steading, but I don't know that that's a word. Is that a real word? And relaxed the lines of his taut shoulders. He wasn't happy, but you had his attention. You flooded the opening with a torrent of bottled-up emotions. This is, wow, this is the most like Marina I've felt like being able to play in a long time. It's infuriating to watch you make yourself miserable over and over again. You've always been that way. You do nothing wrong and say it's not good enough anyway. You put everyone else first and suffer in silence. You don't have to. I don't want you to. I can't let you keep believing being you is a waste. You should enjoy every day you have coming. I'll be here to remind you of that and help to make sure it happens. Finally, small smiles began to settle on both your faces once again. The gloom wasn't insurmountable. Nothing was when you and Derek were together. You were a team. It was evident in the way he looked at you. Facing the darkness around him left Derek lost, but fears and reservations faded when he had you to lean on. And it was the same for you with him.
I can't say no to that.
You're the best person I know.
He stood tall in front of you with a smile perked on just one side. Not because he couldn't make it this whole time. Make it whole this time. He was smirking.
Okay, I'm about to tell you something that will not be a surprise. My dad did football when he was in high school and college. Hearing stories of that's where my sports aspirations came from. Though I was a little original since I ended up going for a different sport.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. Gregorio's kind of that kind of guy. Derek wanted to be like his father. I've never heard of such a thing.
I figured.
Also not a surprise was that I sucked at it. And I was scrawny and I hated that. Getting better became the main driving force in life. And focusing on that, putting in so much effort there, kinda made everything else easier. Being the oldest, having responsibilities in my family, having to be reliable, it felt less scary when there was an even bigger goal to hit. Everything else was nothing. I never had to directly confront my feelings of inadequacy and accept myself for what I was because instead I could say I wouldn't be that way. I was the way I was forever. I'd become successful. But I put proving myself and being talented over being happy. And I missed so many things. I barely let myself see you.
Yeah, we missed an entire 5 years of our life together.
But things were happening. You were there, though, through all those years.
Yeah, I was there. She did keep writing letters to you, right?
I could have just been happy the whole time.
I think that's what really hurts.
This voice acting for him is amazing. Derek's words disappeared as a whisper in the dark. His eyes closed and he took a moment of silence to mourn in life he might have known if he'd had the confidence to go for it sooner.
I know it's later than you wanted, but I hope you can be happy now. It's not your fault. You don't need to blame yourself. You never had to prove yourself to me. Well, let's not miss any more chances. I think you're really admirable, Derek. I feel that sting all too well. Oh. So Marina probably doesn't regret their life, though, really, as much. Marina has had to struggle, too. Like, not feeling successful, for sure. Marina has a freelance photography business. They were never able to keep up with professional sports and athletics either. So I don't know this, so slap me if I'm saying this out of turn, but I feel like it's even harder for women to make it in that industry. Because women's sports aren't as well popularized, but also it's just, I don't know, I just feel like it would be harder. It's just not a thing that there's as much, like, emphasis on to be successful as a woman at sports as there is for men. Maybe there's less pressure, but that probably makes it harder. Anyway, I'm speaking out of turn here. I think we're just gonna say it's later than wanted, but I hope you can be happy now. Your voice reached Derek. His eyes fluttered open, unafraid to face what was ahead of him. Because the whole idea that he shouldn't give up on his life now, because of what happened in this past, because if he spent his past, you shouldn't look back and regret the past, right? Like, that's how I feel. There's been whole chapters of my life is kind of like this too, like 10-year chapters where things seem to change about every decade, in like a major way. And if I spend too much time looking back and regretting what I did with those last 10 years, I'll never be happy. But I can do this.
I know.
Yeah, the only way to make this worse would be to spend the next decade wasting time feeling shitty about all the time I missed not enjoying myself.
Yeah, exactly.
The irony of that is too painful.
You embraced him, you took his hand, you put a hand on his shoulder, you placed a hand on top of his head, you gave him a thumbs up. They are tall enough to do this. You embraced him. I feel like Marina would... No. Put a hand on his shoulder. After everything you felt, Derek could definitely use a gentle touch. You wanted to make sure he knew you were there. He placed his own hand over yours as soon as you'd placed it. I know you'll figure out what's best for you. I don't think you have to give up soccer if you do it for the right reasons. Everything you've done and wherever you do is good with me. You smiled. I know you'll figure out what's best for you. Like, this is where you could probably be romantic about it and start something, but Marina's not looking for that. Not with, Anyway.
If you think so, that's gotta be true. I'll figure it out. But either way, it's still about the journey, not the destination and all that.
Of the happiest note possible, your hand slipped from Derek as he reached up to ruffle his hair. It's be interesting to see what was happening if you were actually trying to pursue a relationship with Derek this time, and how that went with this. Because this is slightly romantic moment, but it's not the way we're playing it out. But I wonder if you were pursuing. I've thought about that a lot with the Cove stuff too, but I have seen a lot of the Cove romantic stuff. I'd be curious to see how this goes. Like I said, I've saved some of these at critical points throughout the entire, journey. I mean, this right here, I could always go back and try it.
Thank you.
It's cool being able to talk to you about things. I feel so much better. I'm lucky I got somebody I can count on, huh?
I'd say so. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, Derek let out a belly groan. The massive release of air looked to physically deflate his body. Derek's torso dropped lower and lower until he could have touched his toes. He was expectedly flexible.
Oh, man.
I'm gonna have to go get that ball now.
You laughed instantly. I knew that's what was coming. Partly at the revelation and partly at the dramatic salt that had been said with. Still bent in half, he stuck his hands against his hip and twisted his head up so you could see him wink.
It was a gift. I'm not gonna abandon it here.
I forgot about that. Oh well. Count me in. We'll tackle life's problems together.
You know it.
Team Marina and Derek forever.
It's true. We were always a team. I think there was some time when we said that before. At that wholehearted cheer, Derek ran headlong through the brush. You chased him after him with leaping steps.
You peeked under every picnic table and behind every trash can in the general area before the lone soccer ball was discovered tucked away amongst some flowers. Thankfully, none of the petals were harmed by it coming to rest in their bed. Derek lifted the ball over his head dramatically as if it was the lead in a video game who got the brand new item to equip. You applauded. The two of you returned to Derek's car from there, the last one still in the lot, and left the park behind victoriously. You shuffled back into the silent apartment after another long day out. When Derek hit the light switch and illuminated the space, he began to chuckle airily.
Oh.
The first sight that greeted you was the counter spilling over with unsorted bags of miscellaneous dry goods. Yeah, because y'all couldn't be bothered to take that extra 10 minutes to pack your groceries away. Just saying. They'd remained right where you'd left them in the rush of that morning, patiently waiting for their turn to be put away. Even though you saw Derek put them there with your own eyes, their existence had entirely faded from your mind. All you'd been imagining of stepping through the door was a free and clear path to your room in the apartment and the cozy bed that was included. Your thoughts are spoken aloud, though not by you. So I don't understand why they always have to be like, oh, this is such a chore, I hate this. It's easy. This is gonna take you like 10 minutes, man.
Oops.
I forgot about those. He scratched the top of his head like he was staring at a blackboard covered in algebra. But he cleared away the initial bewilderment with a firm clap of his hands. Derek kept them clasped together while glancing at you. You can go get ready for bed. I'll put them away real quick. I'm gonna feel uneasy trying to sleep if I know this still isn't done. Yeah, I would too, Derek. Alright, thank you. You're such a neat freak, but I'll help. He laughed. Some of those are mine. It's only fair that I put them away. That happens to you too. I can never leave a mess uncleaned overnight. This is me, but that's not Marina. It's reasonable to me. It's so wrong of these poor groceries to be left out in the cold for the whole night. Uh-huh, that's exactly what I'd call reasonable. Time to put them to bed. His brow was pinched with a twinge of regret that his problem was becoming yours. However, you didn't need to explain again how that was what you'd wanted. Yeah, man, being married to this man would be a chore. Just saying. Derek swallowed the instinct to insist you go rest and apologize and grin instead.
Let's get to it.
Let's do it, team. Time was called, and you got to work on the final task before rest could come. There was more of a system for the cupboards than there was at the fridge and freezer. You fished goods out of bags, passed them to Derek, and he placed them on the shelf where they belonged. As he rearranged the serviceable spice set to make room for more goods, Derek explained his thought process. He preferred having breakfast stuff in one cupboard at the far end of the kitchen, seasoning and baked goods together in another, the shelf closest to the stovetop, and everything else in the middle. Man, all my cabinets are full of dishes, Derek. I don't have room for anything else. You know, when I think about it, I wonder, how did I ever decide on my organization? It feels unreal now. Huh. When you'd gotten the layout, you switched to putting items directly instead, directly instead of playing a support role. With your combined efforts, it only took a few minutes. Exactly! Having a partner to tackle the small things was just as nice as having somebody you could count on for life's bigger struggles. Derek had matched your thoughts on forgetting the groceries, and you felt that working together to put those away had brought your minds in sync again. His expression was peaceful, a weight had been lifted from his broad shoulders, both in the perfectly orderly kitchen and the company he had within it. Derek waved a hand in an arch that was as wide as the smile on his face.
Night.
Good night. Have a safe trip to your room. Your quality time with Derek was put on a temporary pause to prepare for bed and collapse into your sheets, but in the blink the sun had risen once more. You repeated the process of getting ready, though with the goal of being ready to face the day rather than conclude it. One thing you decided against was changing clothes. You'd fully dress when it was closer to when you'd be heading out for the business event. From there, you went into the living room. The perfectly clean counters were a welcome sight after your efforts the night before. Those last moments of the previous day had gone by so fast and you fell asleep so immediately, it honestly felt like a 10-minute timeout had been called rather than several hours passing. But Derek's warm greetings were still welcome to your ears. So, are we going to do this whole next day? I mean, well, I'm going to keep going until I find out for sure, because I don't want to quit now and have it be like 5 more minutes of this game. Or if it's going to try to wrap it all up now. I keep thinking it's going to wrap it all up, but...
Morning.
It's a brand new day, a fresh start, and we're already set to make the most of it. His resolve for the park had been lost under the light of a new day. Hadn't been lost under the light of a new day. Rather, the Derek from that dark moment seemed a lifetime away from the man in front of you now. Morning, today's gonna be an adventure. For sure. How'd you sleep?
It was another good night. I slept soundly.
Awesome.
His eyes darted toward the dark, tidy kitchen where plenty of supplies were tucked away. His gaze returned to you.
Before our big day, we gotta have breakfast. Can't be running on empty.
Yeah, I'll get something. Derek's meal consisted of scrambled eggs and a side of cinnamon steel cutouts cooked in almond milk. He prepared some eggs with simple accompaniments. I never really wanted to have almond milk. I probably could drink it, but I just am not interested. Plus, I don't know. Anyway. Plates, bowls, cups, and utensils stood at the table, and the two of you sat yourselves down in chairs. You noticed Derek focused on a single part of his food at a time. He didn't start working through the oatmeal until the eggs were entirely gone. Between bites, Derek chatted idly about your plans.
So?
Do you know what you're gonna wear for that thing? Our important networking gathering? Dad said it was business casual, but I'm not gonna stress over what that means. From his stories, some event runners think business casual is wearing a blazer instead of a suit jacket, but the rest of the suit stays. And others believe it means you can roll up in shorts.
Yeah, I got something to wear. I can manage that. Hopefully they're as easygoing as you are. People ought to have a business meeting to decide what counts for that. Could I still wear that swimsuit I was going to wear at the water park? No. People ought to have a business meeting to decide what counts for that.
It'd make life a hell of a lot simpler, but I have a feeling no consensus would be reached.
Oh well, worth a shot. He drummed his fingers against the tabletop in slow, even beats. Derek's gaze drifted toward the tall glass doors of the wide world beyond.
It's an early lunch, but we're still gonna have some time to kill before needing to head out. If you don't mind, I might go over some aspects of the business as a refresher.
His face still tilted to the side. He glanced at you out of the corner of his eyes, a cheeky smile pulled upward.
People might actually want to talk to me about talk about the shop at this company owner luncheon.
With a lighthearted laughter, Derek rattled off aspects of the business he could look into.
Their current main suppliers, relevant regulations our dads have to follow, current sales trades, and all that.
You chatted with him about it. You nodded along the prep talk. Your ears began to prickle. You chatted with him about it. So I'm getting ready to, I don't know, I guess we'll keep going, see what happens. You reminded him of some market trends and tourism levels in the area. He appreciated the input. Everything should be covered with you two forward-thinking brains working together. Derek grew more and more determined as he spoke. He stopped briefly to polish up his oatmeal and down a glass of lemonade. I bought lemonade the other day in honor of Derek. Not gonna lie. You followed his lead and made quick work of your breakfast. Both of you cleared off your own dishes to keep the space clean. There was no rush that morning.
I'm off to hit the books, which is a phrase that makes it sound way more exciting than it actually is.
See you.
Bye. Derek skipped down the hall and shut himself away at his bedroom, the one place in the apartment you still hadn't seen despite living there for multiple days. Okay, maybe I do feel like this is a good, well, either way, there was a lengthy job right ahead of you, but before that, you had another equally important duty. With how busy each day in Prism Vistum City had been, this sounds like a Pokemon place, doesn't it? Prism Vistum City? It was rare when you had time to keep up with texts. You needed to reach out to your family while you could. Lee was on the trip herself, gallivanting around Europe. She sent you a whole series of photos she'd taken from food she'd eaten to fashion she wore, and it all looked amazing. Liz shot back a message to say she was so swamped. She apologized she had a little time to chat with her little sibling. So they do appear in this, a little bit. Knowing Liz was okay comforted you, and so did seeing her how her queenly attitude still hadn't changed, but it was still a bit sad that both of you had such separate lives now that you were grown. Your digital conversations wrapped up and it was still too soon to get ready. You relaxed in the apartment, you went for a walk, you decided to ask Derek if he could study the material too. You decided to ask Derek if he'd hang out with him. You went for a walk. Derek had given you a spare key and you could finally make use of it. You let yourself right out, locking up behind you and stretching your legs outside. So I'm very suspicious this is going to be a whole thing. A whole nother event that we're going to do. So I am going to actually let this go for a whole another season. We're going to stop here. I'm hoping the next one's not super short, but we'll find out when we get there. So we'll see you next time.